I spawned into the world on a snowy mountain, but it didn't really have that much on it, so I decided to go look to see what else there was nearby. I spotted a village on the horizon just at the end of my render distance. When I got there, I immediately killed the iron golem for iron, slaughtered some of the indigenous wildlife. I then mined up stone so that I could then get stone tools before then going on a boat ride. I came across an ocean monument and just behind it was a mushroom island. I then decided I wanted to set up a base there, so the first thing I did was kill all of the animals there. Then looted an ocean ruins and a shipwreck, which I'm allowed to do because the ship had already sunk. After that, I then made a nether portal using a lava lake on the mushroom island. However, I didn't want to go into the nether just yet, so I made some iron armor and then I made a mine so I could get some better gear. And whilst digging down, I ended up finding the stronghold, which was pretty cool. And after looking around for a bit, I then discovered the end portal, which would be quite handy for later when I was going for the end fight. On the mainland, I then killed an enderman, mined up some ores, got my first diamonds, and then I was almost killed by a creeper, which scared me a lot, but I got some more diamonds. I then mined up more diamonds, as well as obsidian for an enchanting table. After that, I then crafted books so I could make an enchanting table using the obsidian I'd just gotten, so I could then get some base level enchantments on my pickaxes. Once I had all of the diamonds I needed, I made full diamond armor and a sword. I then went over to the village near spawn where I kidnapped 2 villagers so I could force them into a trading hall that I was going to make where I could get lots of emeralds and enchanted books. I then brought 2 very willing cows back to my base. I then grabbed 3 sheep, and as you can see, it looks like they were having a lot of fun. I then created 2 very humane holes to put the sheep in and then just let the breeding begin. I wanted to make a whole army of these by the end, which would provide me with unlimited food. Whilst I was waiting for the sheep to be breedable again, I mined up natural ores underground and got a few more diamonds as well, which is always just very nice to get. In fact, I continued the breeding until the animals almost began entity cramming. I then took a boat ride over to the plains near spawn, where I then proceeded to engage in just mass murder of farmyard animals. After that fun was over, I decided I wanted to get a pet, so I kidnapped a chicken and brought it back to the mushroom island. I then cooked all of the food I had just gotten in a furnace. I then trapped the chicken in its own private prison so it could lay eggs for me. I then mined up all of my wheat, which I then immediately fed to the sheep and the cows so that I could get more and eventually kill them all. The chicken had laid some eggs, but unfortunately neither of them hatched into chickens. And I then made some beds for the villagers to sleep on so that their trades would be better, made some bookshelves for the enchanting setup, and then went around the island collecting up sugarcane, which I needed for paper to make bookshelves out of. I then made more and then almost finished off the enchanting setup. I then crafted some beds and then slaughtered more sheep to make more beds, went into the nether and then blew up those beds to get ancient debris. All in all, I needed 16 ancient debris for full armor, plus more if I wanted to make tools netherite as well. I then realised that TNT was more effective, so I went over to the mainland at night where I killed a few creepers and then killed an enderman in the morning to get an ender pearl, which I would need eventually when I was planning on going to the end. After that, I went to get more debris. After that, I made another bookshelf to almost finish off my enchanting table setup. After that, I went on an expedition to try to find where my buried treasure map led to. I ended up in a faraway land where I killed all of the indigenous animals and finally found the treasure buried in a river. I then finished off my enchanting table. Now that I had a level 30 enchanting setup, I then immediately went enchanting 3 diamond pickaxes as well as some of my armour, so I was better prepared. I then combined 2 of the picks together to make a pretty good one, and then went into the nether to get more quartz to make up for the levels I had just lost. After that, I then fed some bread to the villagers. I then started exploring to try to find a fortress, and after hundreds of blocks of travelling, I eventually did find one, where I got a few blaze rods and almost died once. But all in all, it was a very successful mission, and I managed to get 9 blaze rods. I then mined up sand, which I could turn into glass bottles, which I needed to make weakness potions for the villagers so I could get better deals on the trades. Whew. After that, I then went back over to the mainland where I got a zombie in a boat, and then I painfully brought it back home to the base, where I could then use it to zombify villagers and then purify them to get better trades. I then also got Unbreaking 3 Prot 3 on my armour, which was pretty useful. I then got more wheat, which I can use to breed, and then purified some villagers so I could then get better deals on them. I then went through a load of books, and eventually I found mending for just 10 emeralds, which I obviously took. I then created this setup where I had mud blocks on top of dripstone, which meant that the mud turned into clay, which I could then sell to the villagers for emeralds, so I was literally turning dirt into emeralds. Whilst I was waiting for the mud to turn into clay, I decided to get all of my armour to netherite, as well as some of my tools. I also finally made a diamond axe and shovel. After that, I went caving where I found some more diamonds, and more importantly, I found a skeleton spawner, which would be very useful. I then chopped down some trees, which is bad, but it's okay because it's in Minecraft. I used a boat to negate all fall damage, and then went to the warped forest to massacre the native endermen for their pearls, so I could then use them to activate the end portal. And now I'm just going to stop talking and montage me preparing for the end fight. And yeah, hope you enjoyed that. That was me killing the Ender Dragon, and that's the end of the hardcore series. Goodbye! I'm just kidding, this video is like 20 minutes long, you're not even halfway through yet. After that, I crawled through the end gateway to access the outer end islands, where I immediately started looking for an end city. I bridged across void gaps using end stone brick slabs. Eventually I did find an end city, however it was a tiny one with no ship. However, I did manage to get some shulker shells. After killing all of the shulkers, I made a pretty cool ender pearl clutch. And then I just travelled for thousands of blocks to try to find another end city with an elytra in this time. Eventually I did then find a city, and luckily this one had a ship in it, which of course I was going to go take the elytra from, so I could then go fly around to find end cities easier. After killing the shulker protecting the elytra and stealing from some of the chests, I then got an elytra and I was in the end game. I made sure to grab the dragon head from the end ship, and then I just went on a bit of a killing spree around, grabbing shulker shells and loot. As you can see, I got another elytra, which was very useful because the current one I had was unenchanted. And then found another city, meaning I could get another elytra, which of course I did after killing all of the shulkers. And yeah, that's just what I did for a while. I flew around from city to city, killing the shulkers and stealing all of their loot and elytras. After doing that for a while, I found an end gateway, went back through it, and that was the end of my end expedition. I then went back through, but not before remembering to grab the dragon egg for my base. With my new elytras, I flew over to the mainland, where I killed all of the creepers for gunpowder, which I needed for rockets, and then I just spent a while mining up natural resources. All the while I was away, the chicken population just kept getting bigger. I'm sure they're having a lot of fun in there. I then went over to my neglected villages where I bought 3 mending books to put on my 3 elytras. I needed to do this to make sure that the elytras didn't break. With my new elytra, I then flew over back to the mainland where I mined up spruce trees, which I would then use for my base. I built spruce log pillars, and in between them I put stone bricks and cracked stone bricks. This was to make the build look more varied. After that I quickly killed some creepers. After this, what I needed was bone blocks, so I went to the nether and mined up those old fossil skeletons, and also killed a load of wither skeletons to get bones, which I needed for the construction of my base. After that, I went back through to my base and did some more building. Also, I don't know what happened to the recording, but some of it got lost, so this is what I've made so far. I then built spruce pillars, and in between the spruce pillars was quartz blocks, smooth quartz blocks, and bone blocks. I then started working on the roof using polished blackstone blocks. I then mined up much more blackstone from under the nether so that I could use it on the roof. After that, I mined up a lot of andesite from the mainland, which I would need as well for the roof. I then created andesite and stone stairs for use on the roof of my house. Now, what I was doing here was I was using bone blocks, quartz blocks, and smooth quartz blocks to give a varied texture in between the spruce log pillars. I was using this for the higher sections of my house, but don't worry, a bit after this video comes out, I'm going to release a house tour of this house so that people can have a better idea as to how it was made. Anyway, after that I started working on the outline of the roof using polished blackstone blocks and filling in the gaps in between them with stone stairs and andesite stairs. This was to give the impression that the roof was weathered and had been there a long time. By the way, at this point, this is what the house looked like. I then harvested up my wheat and fed it to my farmyard animals, which I've just been doing for this entire series, but I just want to show it this time because I just do it a lot. I just breed the animals and then kill them all. In the morning, I flew over to the mainland where I mined up spruce logs because I needed more for my base, and my base wasn't done yet. Using the logs I just mined, I created some beams to give the house some more depth. Crossing through the horizontal beams, I had vertical beams as well, and all of them had bone blocks, quartz blocks, and smooth quartz blocks in between them. When the exterior was almost finished, I started working on the interior where I had horizontal spruce log beams, and in the sticky outy part of my house I decorated it where I would then put the enchanting table. I then rebuilt the level 30 enchanting table inside of my house, and I got efficiency 4 on a diamond shovel. Following that, I mined up more quartz from the nether which I needed for my house. Also, whilst I was peacefully trying to exploit the land for the house, a ghast kept really annoying me, and I managed to get the Return to Sender achievement by killing it. I also needed more spruce logs, however I couldn't be bothered to fly over to the mainland, so I planted some at my base and chopped them down. I then continued the same style of building where I had spruce pillars in between bits of bone block, smooth quartz, and quartz blocks. And so I had this, and it was almost done. I continued with the same style of building where I had polished blackstone blocks and in between them stone stairs and andesite stairs. Just as I was about done, I ran out of blackstone, so I went back into the nether mines and mined more blackstone. I then filled in the section at the top of the house with the same blocks I'd been using for the entire time. All that I then needed to do was place a few blocks to finish off the top of the house, and it was done, and so the 100 days in Minecraft was almost finished. Once the outside was done, I started working on the interior where I lay down a floor of spruce planks. I then moved my whole storage system upstairs where it could be better organised. I then built some rafters above the chest room where I had spruce logs placed horizontally and in between them spruce plank slabs. Using my new enchanting setup, I decided I wanted to make a really good sword, so I spent a while enchanting until eventually I got looting 3 on a sword, which I then decided to make that sword netherite and then combine it with my pre-existing sword to make a god sword. In fact, the only thing this new one was lacking was sweeping edge. I then decided I wanted to go fight the Wither, So I went over to the nether and went straight to the nether fortress, where I proceeded to immediately kill wither skeletons for wither skulls. And once I had enough, I went back. I then spawned in the wither deep underground for safety because I didn't want anything bad happening. I killed it very easily, and I managed to get the nether star as well as quite a bit of cobbled deep slate. After that, all I needed to do was just simply craft the beacon, and there I had it. I then built a level 1 beacon using gold blocks just outside of my house. I'm going to make it better in the future, but I just wanted to make it for now. I then decided I wanted to go on one last expedition, and on the way out I saw the beacon looking quite cool. When I got to the mainland, I then massacred its population of indigenous creepers for gunpowder. With all of that gunpowder, I then decided I wanted to go on one last expedition around the world, getting as many resources as possible. I got lots and lots of ores, as well as killing hundreds of animals for food, which was really useful. I also found an igloo where I took the items from the basement, and a desert temple which I looted safely, but it didn't have anything good in it. I then went to a nearby village where I stole all of the villagers' food with the sole intent of making them starve. After that, I spent another night slaughtering creepers. On the way back home, I decided I wanted a dog, because that's what you do in a hardcore series. As you can see, it was love at first sight. It even tried running away, but I was simply more better. We then took a boat ride back to my base, where I then named the dog Aura Green, thanks for the suggestion. After that, I sat down with Aura Green and we watched the sunset together over the Mushroom Island. And that was the end of 100 days in Minecraft Hardcore.